Good evening. A big development tonight on the West Virginia teachers' strike. Informal talks have been going on most of the day between officials with the governor's office and the two teachers' unions. Our Lisa Calagrassi has been following the story tonight at the Capitol and joins us now. Lisa, the governor wants to deal, apparently. Looks like he is requesting that the teachers go back to work now.
That's right, Tom. Governor Caperton has asked that all teachers go back to work on Monday. At that time, talks could be reopened to try and develop a plan to solve the education crisis. Caperton is standing firm by his position that talks cannot progress until teachers are off the picket line.
And it's increasingly clear that the strike has lost its momentum. But there's no point in trying to be punitive or to engage in any feeling that we've smashed someone. The whole purpose is to try to put this thing back on a constructive framework where we're in a spirit of cooperation, working with everyone in the educational community and the citizens of West Virginia to build an educational consensus.
Now, as a type of olive branch, the governor is also recommending that teachers who do go back to work on Monday not suffer any loss of pay or benefits from being on strike.
Lisa, what kind of reaction are we hearing so far from the teachers about this?
Well, the West Virginia Education Association is currently assessing the opinions of their members. They said they will have a statement tomorrow on what they want to do about the recommendation. The West Virginia Federation of Teachers has scheduled a meeting for tomorrow morning. They are going to take the governor's recommendation to their members tomorrow. They should also have a statement on the recommendation by tomorrow.
Okay, the legislative session, of course, almost over. We've heard some talk about a possible special session. What's the likelihood of that seem to be?
Well, right now the special session really is contingent on whether the teachers go back to work. Now, officials with the governor's office say they would call a special session sometime down the road if they could develop an education plan to take to the legislature.
All right, very big story indeed tonight, and apparently we might get some kind of reaction from the teachers by tomorrow. Thank you very much, Lisa. Good evening. Will the teacher strike be resolved?
The governor and leaders of West Virginia's two teachers' unions are meeting at this hour to try to resolve the state's four-day-old teachers' strike. Teachers in at least 46 counties stayed off the job today. Our Alan Cohen is standing by live at the Capitol now. Alan, what is the latest?
Well, that's right. The teachers and Governor Caperton have been meeting now for almost 3 hours behind closed doors. Now, there's been little discussion about what's expected, although both sides say they're hoping to reach agreement. A huge cheer from striking teachers as leaders of both teacher unions arrived at the governor's office.
Is the strike over?
No.
Not at this moment?
No.
What are you going into the meeting hoping to accomplish?
We're going in to have a discussion with the governor, I would hope. And other than that, I don't have any comment at this time.
We're hopeful that we can have some meaningful dialogue, but I'm just not sure what's going to happen right now.
The governor called the meeting to resolve the crisis. After an hour, his spokesman said the talks are moving along.
We're talking about everything. We want to get the strike over. We want to get people back in the classroom.
The teachers and Governor Caperton have been involved in this dispute for nearly a week now. The teachers appeared ready to end their walkout on Saturday, but instead urged members to remain on strike, accusing the governor of reneging on terms of a settlement. The teachers say the next move is up to the governor.
We'll be in the classroom as soon as we know, hey, what he'll do for us. Then we'll be more than glad to. We want to be in our classrooms, but this is a cause that we feel so strongly in that, you know, we're out here supporting it.
I'm a total wreck. I feel like I've let my students down. I feel like if I go into the classroom, I'm letting my teachers down. I want you to know that when the school buses crossed our picket lines today, that several of our teachers just broke down. We had to leave our picket line because we just had to get away.
Tom, Mary Sue, unfortunately, since the story, there's really nothing new to report. About an hour ago, the governor's spokesman, G.C. Morse, came out and told us talks are progressing. Things are moving along. I would imagine the fact that they've been meeting almost 3 hours is a pretty good sign. Back to you.
Right, at least they're talking. You're obviously right on top of the story there, and that's the only way we can cover it. The information comes out hour by hour, so hopefully we'll hear something soon.
Yeah, it's very sporadic. The governor's press secretary is doing the best to get us information as soon as it's available. Right now, this room is packed with dozens of teachers from around the state. Everybody's waiting for word as to exactly what happens.
All right, we'll be waiting to hear. Thank you very much. Alan Cohen reporting.
As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Governor Caperton has been meeting with leaders of West Virginia's 2 teachers unions for the past 3 hours behind closed doors, and we understand the governor has now emerged from that meeting.
All right, let's go over live at the Capitol right now, and now I can see on our monitor we've got Alan Cohen standing by. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, it's really hectic around here. Just moments ago, the governor's press secretary again came out and gave us a progress report on the talks. The big news is he said they're going to keep meeting until they reach a settlement. He just told us that just a few moments ago. He said the fact that they've been meeting this long is in fact a good sign, and that they will continue to meet until a settlement is reached. So apparently good news.
Do they sound optimistic they'll wrap it up tonight?
Well, he didn't want to put any time frame on it, but again, the fact that the two sides are sitting down at the table together, they've been there about 3 hours now. Apparently, that's pretty good. Nobody's come out of the room yet, so he said stand by. We're going to see what happens.
Okay, their word to us now is they're going to stay in there until they end the strike.
Yes, that's exactly what he just told us. They're going to stay at the table. Apparently, both sides are willing to sit down, talk congenially to each other, and they're going to try and hammer this thing out. It could be 10 minutes. We could be here all night.
Okay, thanks, Alan. We'll keep tabs on that situation. And there has been a lot of meeting going on today. Also, the president of the National Education Association has been meeting with West Virginia teacher representatives as well.
That's right. Keith Geiger has been showing his support for the striking teacher, but he joins us now to update us on their strategy. Mr. Geiger, as the WVEA is the state affiliate of the National Education Association, what advice are you giving the teachers here?
Well, my advice is that I haven't heard as good a news as I just heard on your report tonight, and that is the longer the governor and the representatives meet, the better chance they have of reaching a settlement. When I met with the teachers this afternoon, there was a lot of anger, frustration, despair, but I think more than anything else, hope. And I think we're hoping that they meet until they reach a settlement. It's excellent news, and we would encourage them to stay in the governor's office till a settlement is reached.
Now, I know a lot of folks have been critical that both sides have been stubborn up until this point. Do you see that this is somewhat of a resolution, that they're willing to talk?
Well, I hope so, and I hope we're beyond the finger-pointing part. I hope it's time now that we sit down and talk about resolving it. It doesn't do us any good to threaten or to point fingers. I think they're at the point now where both sides are ready to sit down and settle it, and we'd hope they would.
What tact had you taken with the teachers here when they asked for your advice specifically? Have you been encouraging them to get back to the classrooms for now and then base a strike on whether the legislature comes up with these pay raises?
No, my tactic this afternoon when I met with them was that they have a leader, and that's Kayetta Meadows, and they need to take their cue from her. She's meeting with the governor, and we would hope that when a settlement is reached, she will come out and give the word to the members, and they will then go back into the classroom. I don't know the details of the settlement, but if the state affiliate agrees to it, we believe that they ought to ratify it and move on.
Do you feel Governor Caperton is the type of man who is likely to strike a deal and wrap this up?
I think very likely. I spoke to him just a couple weeks ago. I think he is interested in not prolonging this, and I would encourage that they do it this evening.
All right, Mr. Geiger, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
And once again, to try to bring you up to date, Governor Caperton has been meeting with leaders of West Virginia's 2 teachers union throughout the afternoon, and we understand they are making some progress.
They say that they're going to meet until they settle the strike. Let's find out what the latest is on that matter right now as we return you live to the Capitol right now, and Alan Cohen. Alan?
Yeah, Tom, Mary Sue, that's exactly right. The meeting is still going on in the governor's office right behind me. It's been going on for more than 3 hours now. Apparently, no news is good news. The talks are still continuing, and they're telling us they're going to continue meeting until they reach some sort of an agreement. Joining me now is Governor Caperton's press secretary, Mr. G.C. Morse. Mr. Morse, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Go ahead and tell us. Mr. Morse just came out of the meeting just a short time ago. What's the mood in there?
Well, I think the mood is that these folks recognize that for better or for worse, they share a common future. You have to remember 14 months ago, this was a group, including the governor, that worked very closely together in order to develop which they thought would be a process towards improving education. This governor was successful with their support in putting some $200 million into education last year for higher teacher pay, higher teacher salaries, for health care, and the retirement system. Now, in the interim, there's also clear agreement that the teachers need to be paid more. The governor has always agreed with that. The issue now is how do we find the means to accomplish that.
So the fact that they're talking is apparently good news. It's, I heard you say before that we're a little closer now than we were 24 hours ago.
Yeah, we're in a better place now than we were over this weekend. There were some harsh words traded. There were some miscommunications. This is better. This is much better.
How much time this evening is Governor Caperton going to stay with it, around the clock if need be?
Well, the governor's committed. The governor is absolutely committed. Whether this works or some other meeting works, he's committed to improving education.
Okay, G.C. Morse, I wish we had more time. Thanks for joining us. Tom, Mary Sue, apparently they're going to keep right at it, and, you know, optimism, I would say, and we'll see what happens here tonight.
All right, we'll talk to you later on. Thanks for the update from Alan Cohen. Well, our Steve Levine has been following the story and joins us live now from the Capitol. Steve, at this hour, our audience has been wondering if there would be a settlement tonight on the teachers' strike. Originally, we thought we understood representatives from the governor's office as saying that they would continue to meet until the strike was settled.
That's right, Tom, but there will not be a settlement this evening. The talks have been called off for the night. They will resume tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Right now, G.C. Morse, the press secretary, is giving us an update on how things are going.
To find areas of agreement, but it's going to take a little while.
Has anything been resolved at this point?
Well, I think that there's a greater feeling of, well, I'll put it to you this way. These folks worked very closely together in the past to produce some very beneficial accomplishments for the state of West Virginia. They realize they've got a very large problem on their hands. And they realize that they have got to find a way to the other side.
What's the attitude between the bargainers there? Are they getting along all right?
It's a very cordial meeting, and it has grown more cordial as it's gone along. I don't want to understate the differences. If there weren't differences, we wouldn't be here.
Working well together?
That are left right now.
Well, I don't want to get into the details of the discussions. I've been asked not to. They've asked me to come out here and convey the fact that they have spent 6 hours or so in discussions. These discussions have been productive and worthwhile. We have found some areas of agreement, but not enough at this point.
Have they said anything, our teachers, to go back to school tomorrow?
No, and there's no decisions have been made on that. I think we're going to proceed tomorrow as we proceeded today. I think the governor would hope that more people would go back into the classrooms to teach. I think that's better for everyone, but no decisions that I'm aware of have been made other than what has transpired up to this point.
Just back here tomorrow morning?
7 o'clock.
Okay.
Expect to see you here.
Oh, we'll be here, believe me. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, Mr. Morse. Well, as you can see, Tom, the negotiations are done for this evening. They'll continue tomorrow morning, but as for now, it's a wait-and-see situation.
Till this week.
The governor and his invited guests, representatives from the state's two teachers union, began the roundtable discussion in hopes of coming to some sort of solution that'll end the 4-day walkout.
No commitments have been made, no conclusions have been reached, no promises have been made. The lines of communication are open, and the discussions will continue this evening.
And as the talking continued behind closed doors, striking teachers waited for the latest word.
I met with the governor. I met with the governor last night. He assured me that talks will begin, and the fact of the legislature's out of session.
Right.
What can we need to sit down and bargain. We can't keep going without any talks going on.
The governor invited the teachers to talk in hopes they can clear up some of the miscommunication and harsh words that were flying over the weekend. The talks broke off for a time during the dinner hour so the two sides could meet separately. They resumed a short time later.
They're able to discuss this thing. We're in a better place. We've been in a better place in the last few hours than we've been in the last few days, okay? And with a little luck, you know, we'll make some progress here.
Once again, the talks have ended for this evening, so there will not be a settlement of the teacher strike tonight. They will resume tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. at the Capitol. Tom?
Steve, I wonder if they were too hopeful earlier this evening when at 6 o'clock we learned from the governor's office, and I don't know if they intended this literally or not. They said they would continue meeting until there's a settlement in the strike. It doesn't sound like they're exactly on the verge of a settlement. As G.C. Morse said, some movement toward an agreement, but not enough.
Well, for them, some movement is good movement, Tom, because they were so far apart over the weekend. For them to get together in one room today to work out these issues is movement itself. It's very positive. positive, they're very upbeat, and it may be that they just want to take their time and iron out this agreement so everything will be fine once they get a settlement on this agreement. So we'll just have to wait it out and see what happens tomorrow.
Okay, it'll be another big day. Thank you very much. Steve Levine reporting live from the...
Good evening, everyone. It's been another day of intense talks at the governor's office.
Governor Caperton and education leaders have been meeting behind closed doors much of this day, ironing out an agreement that will bring the striking teachers back into the classroom. Our Steve Levine joins us live from the Capitol right now. And Steve, any sign now of the settlement?
Well, Tom and Mary Sue, the teachers' unions and the governor are set to go back into negotiations at 6 o'clock. They took a 2-hour break, and they've been going at it since early this morning. And while both sides are very optimistic, still no word yet on when an agreement will be reached.
All the striking teachers.
Yeah, how are things going?
We're still talking.
That's about all education leaders would say as they went back behind closed doors. The governor was also being tight-lipped.
We're not going to talk about that right now.
Give us any kind of a comment whatsoever?
No, we just got you all in here for photographs. Okay, y'all can leave now if you don't mind. Please. Okay, thank you all.
The two sides started talking at 7 this morning, and while both groups are optimistic, no one's saying just how close they are to a settlement.
I don't want to go into any detail on anything at this point because really nothing has been finalized. There have been a lot of discussions, a lot of talk, and we're moving along.
The governor and the union leadership met for 3.5 hours in the morning discussing the main issues that'll return teachers to the classroom after being off the job for 5 days. Throughout the meetings, the two sides have called off talks for a while so each group can meet separately to discuss what's been put on the table.
The teachers were occasionally conferring with other people that are within their organizations, and that's certainly their prerogative, and we have no problem with that.
The governor has also been conferring with legislative leaders throughout the talks. This is the second day of meetings between the two sides. Yesterday, the group met for nearly 7 hours.
Won't you all move on?
Now, this 5th round of negotiations is set to begin in the next few minutes. It's not known how long it will go. We do know one thing for sure is that both sides have talked about a possible education summit. Press Secretary G.C. Morse said that is one of the issues on the table. Tom, Mary Sue?
Steve, when you say an education summit, you're talking about a special session of the legislature?
We're talking about an education summit. They're not talking about what an education summit exactly is that they're talking about, but we do know that last weekend they were talking about an education summit. That was one of the stumbling blocks that broke off during the weekend and forced the teachers to resume the strike on Monday.
Steve, any idea how long these talks will go on?
It's not known how long the talks will go on, but we do understand that Governor Caperton did meet with the legislative leaders. If you just saw Keith Burdett and now Bob Brown is coming in. Can we have a comment at all?
Just talking.
As you hear it, they're just talking and talking, sitting in a closed room together and talking. So we're going to be here for the interim. If there is anything that breaks throughout the evening, we'll be here to report it to you.
All right, thanks a lot. Steve Levine reporting live from the Capitol. Well, we've been keeping tabs on comments from the governor's office, obviously, during the strike negotiations.
And right now, some timely response from the teachers. Joining us, Ruth Davis, the president of the Kanawha Teachers Association. Ms. Davis, what is your reaction hearing this now from the governor's camp?
We are hopeful that the governor and our leadership will reach an agreement, and this is a positive sign for us that he's now talking with our leadership.
What do you think is taking so long, though? Don't they substantially know what is needed and somebody needs to just say, let's do it?
With negotiations, it takes a little time to get everything that you would like to have done, and when you're bargaining, you have to take time. You have to be patient and then work it out.
Now, we understand there is to be a big rally at the Capitol tomorrow. Teachers, parents, students, everyone converging on the Capitol. With these delicate negotiations going on, do you think this will have a positive or negative effect?
I think this will have a positive effect because this rally was planned before the negotiations started. And the teachers from around the state are coming in for a solidarity rally and let the world know that we are united and we are together in teachers in West Virginia.
Well, we know some of the things you've been asking for. What do you think that you all are going to get out of this strike and these negotiations?
We will allow that to our leadership, and I would not like to speculate on that at this time.
And would you like to speculate on when these negotiations are going to end?
At this time, the teachers in Kanawha County, we support our leadership, and we are here and we are out walking the picket lines, and we're on strike until the negotiations are solved at the state level.
And we appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you very much. Ruth?
Our Steve Levine is standing by live at the Capitol now with the latest on the negotiations between the teachers and the governor.
Let's go back out there live right now. Steve, what are you hearing at this point?
Well, Tom and Mary Sue, the negotiations are now underway. West Virginia Education Association President Kayetta Meadows arrived here about 10 minutes after 6. West Virginia Federation of Teachers Association Director Bob Brown came through a few minutes before that, and as you saw, we asked him how things are going. He said they're still talking, and they're talking right now. We did learn that Governor Caperton met with legislative leaders, Chuck Chambers, the House Speaker, and Senate President Keith Burdett shortly before the negotiations were set to begin. So as of now, they are inside, they are talking. We'll be here waiting for any answers and any solutions that may come out throughout the evening. Tom, Mary Sue?
Steve, any idea how long they'll talk tonight?
We don't know. Last night they talked up until 11 o'clock, so as far as we know, they'll be talking until 11 o'clock. They've been taking breaks from time to time to separate and caucus amongst themselves, but we'll be here throughout the night should anything happen.
All right, thanks a lot, Steve.
And that's our report for now. Tonight at 11, when will the teacher strike end? When we know, you'll know it.
And we'll be live at 11 o'clock tonight. Good evening. There was a significant development just a few minutes ago, literally 5 to 7 minutes ago, in the teacher strike negotiations going on at the state capitol. The teachers apparently walked out of the negotiations. At this point, we're not sure exactly what that indicates, but we hope to find out right now as we go live to the capitol, and we're joining our Steve Levine, who has been covering the story there. Steve, what exactly have you found out about what the teachers were up to?
Well, Tom, just about 10 minutes ago, the negotiations ended. The teachers left the capitol, and now Governor Caperton is addressing the state as to what's the next step.
And fruitful. But they have also been specific. I found myself caught between the reality of West Virginia's fiscal predicament and the aspirations of West Virginia's teachers. 14 months ago, I took over a state on the verge of bankruptcy. With the support of the legislature, West Virginia has been brought from the brink of financial disaster. We are solvent, and I want us to remain that way. Yet again, I recognize the hardship of our teachers, who labor each day to teach our children, and yet are paid far less than their counterparts in other states receive. That is the reason why I have presented to the teacher representatives a 7-point comprehensive offer designed to improve education and raise teacher pay for the years to come. 1, I offered to work with the teachers' organizations to develop political support and a consensus for long-term comprehensive improvement in education, including teacher compensation and an education summit in May. 2, I offered to work with the teacher representatives to develop this consensus beginning next week, and that if such a consensus was received, I was ready to urge appropriate legislative action. 3, I offered to take $3 million out of my computer program.
Bad timing with our technical problems right now, but we'll try to get it fixed and get back to the Capitol and the governor's speech as soon as possible. The governor says he has made a 7-point offer, including some kind of indication of a teacher salary raise. We'll come back to it as soon as we can. To continue now, as the talks went on today, so did the picket lines and the impact on schools. All right, once again, we're going back to the Capitol. Teacher negotiation strikes ended abruptly a few minutes ago, and the governor began his speech, and we'll return to that in progress at this time.
Teacher compensation, but in the greater cause of improving education for the next generation. When all is said and done, West Virginia's greatest hope rests with the ability of our people to work together, and I pledge my effort to that end. Based upon the tone and tenor of our discussions for these last 2 days, I'm very optimistic about the response to this proposal. Thank you very much.
That was Governor Caperton speaking live, announcing the proposal that he gave striking teachers just a few minutes ago. The talks wrapped up about 10 minutes to 11, and during that plan, during a 7-point plan, he offered to the teachers that he would suggest a legislative session in May on teacher pay raises. He says he'd also take $3 million from a computer program for pay raises, would fully fund the PEIA. That was a proposal that he offered to the teachers a week ago, and he would also fully fund the retirement system, just some of the highlights of this 7-point system. The teacher representatives have now gone back to their headquarters and are now meeting with teacher officials to look over this plan. Tom?
Okay, Steve, and the teachers walked out at about 5 minutes to 11. They were very tight-lipped, but apparently they want to take this back, powwow, and see what they come up with.
That's exactly right. They left here in a hurry to get back to their teacher representatives to talk over this plan with them. Now, the next step is for the teachers to look over this plan, and I understand that they will respond to Governor Caperton as to whether they will accept this plan. Now, before any of this is said and done and the strike is over, I hear that the teachers will still have to vote and ratify this contract, so it looks as though the strike is still on.
Well, one of the big snags in this thing prior to now was the lack of any promise, at least that was the perception of the teachers, that there would be no guarantee of a special session of the legislature to cover their pay raises, but apparently they have that now.
That's exactly right. In this proposal, he calls for a special session in May on education and pay raises, and that's something that the teachers wanted. In fact, that was the whole discrepancy, the whole problem that lasted over the weekend. The teachers voted and accepted a proposal that included a pay raise and included a special session on education with the legislature, and then late Saturday night the governor said no. They went into negotiations, and now the governor's saying yes, he will indeed propose a special legislative session on education in May if teachers accept this proposal.
All right, thank you very much. Steve Levine reporting from the Capitol, and we again apologize that we missed the mid-portion of the governor's speech tonight, but Steve Levine there to keep an ear and an eye on everything that was happening. In other news tonight,
Good evening, everyone. The state school superintendent will close all schools in West Virginia for 2 days because of the teacher strike.
that word just minutes ago from the superintendent. It comes a day after teachers rejected Governor Caperton's final offer to settle the strike.
In an effort to try to attempt to bring resolution to the difficulty that exists in the situation in West Virginia, I, along with members, or in concert rather, with members of the State Board of Education, am calling off schools tomorrow in West Virginia, Thursday, and Friday, as well as Friday, in an effort to have a cooling off period so that we might be able to have superintendents of schools work with their local association presidents and executive committees with the objective of attempting to get back to work on Monday, the following Monday. State board meeting is called for tomorrow on with the specific purpose of attempting to come to Charleston to deal with the situation and to...
All right, again, that's the state school superintendent about 10 minutes ago calling for a 2-day cooling off period in the teacher strike by shutting down all schools in the state for 2 days, those days to be made up at the end of the school year. Well, right now, 10,000 people are rallying at the Capitol to send out a message of strong rejection to the governor's final offer to the teachers.
And our Steve Levine is right in the middle of that rally right now. Steve, I guess it looks like everything is right back to square one.
Well, Tom and Mary Sue, this 2-hour rally is just about ending right now. More than 10,000 people. It's been a sea of red here at the Capitol all day. And the animosity is at a peak as this rally continues. It's simply a symbolic way of taking the governor's proposal and throwing it right back in his face.
The governor's offer last night at 11 o'clock was inappropriate and insulting. We won't take it.
After hearing the stunning news, the West Virginia Education Association threw out the governor's offer. Thousands of striking teachers turned up at the Capitol for the latest.
We won't let him force us back without fair treatment. We won't let him continue to abuse the negotiation process by announcing a proposal that your leadership cannot, in good conscience, accept on your behalf.
And immediately after the offer was given the thumbs down by teachers, the governor's office voiced disappointment.
And the thing sort of slipped away from us twice before. It wasn't a total surprise, but it is dismaying. I don't want to mislead you. It is dismaying.
After 2 days of intensive negotiations to reach a settlement, this had been hoped to be a celebration for teachers to bring them back to the classroom. But instead, once again, teachers are sending a strong and angry message to the governor.
We're back! We're back! We're back!
We're quite annoyed. Everybody is. As a matter of fact, it kind of unified all the teachers together. Instead of trying to separate the teacher, kind of unified them completely.
He's not giving us anything we don't already have. We hope he'll offer something that we don't have yet.
The teacher strike has now entered its second week, with teachers in at least 46 counties off the job. Well, there's a bit of celebrating going on right now. It was just announced about the two-day cooling off period. All the schools closed for the next few days. Now, the governor is expected to make his address tonight at 7 o'clock, and he will address the teacher walkout issue. And News 8 will have that speech tonight at 7 o'clock. A spokesman for the governor's office says that they are now handing it over to the state and the county superintendents so they can deal with this matter. Now, joining me right now is Dennis Giordano, executive director of the WVEA. Let's get his reaction to today's big turnout.
Well, it's reassuring to note that the teachers in this state are solidly together. That's number one. The question you didn't just ask me, though, is what I think should happen now that they've said that. If I were the superintendents of the counties of this state, I would hand it right back over to the governor and say, it's your problem, you deal with it.
And what's your next step in regards to dealing with the governor?
We've tried, Lord knows we've tried. We have tried from the beginning to sit down and negotiate meaningfully. It just doesn't seem to be something that they're willing to do in that Capitol building quite yet, and we'll continue to try, and sooner or later, there'll be progress one way or another.
You may not have negotiated today, but you sent him a pretty strong message of red.
Well, I like to believe that they saw that red out here and they understand all the many ramifications of what it means.
What's the next step? We understand that the WVEA has a proposal. When will you be giving that to the governor?
Shortly.
Any indication what will be in that?
No specific timelines yet.
Okay, but the strike continues.
Apparently.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Giordano, for joining us tonight. Well, Tom and Mary Sue, the rally continues here. The teachers from all over the state are here gathering for solidarity. We'll have updates here at the Capitol for about the next few minutes. I'll throw it back to you now.
All right, thanks. Steve Levine reporting from the Capitol. Good evening. Schools across West Virginia are on temporary shutdown. The state school superintendent has ordered that classes be canceled Thursday and Friday as part of a cooling off process. The teachers today rejected Governor Caperton's proposal of a special session and a possible pay raise. Our Lisa Calagrassi has been covering the recent developments in the strike tonight and joins us now. Lisa, it looks as though things are once again at a standstill, forcing the schools to shut down.
That's right, Tom. Thursday and Friday are going to be used as sort of a break period in the strike, giving the teachers union and the governor time to regroup and think about further negotiations. State School Superintendent Hank Meraki says the break is needed to give both sides time to figure out what to do next.
So that we might be able to have superintendents of schools work with their local association presidents and executive committees with the objective of attempting to get back to work on Monday.
I do think it's marvelous that schools will be closed for the next 2 days. It gives us all a chance to think about things. I think it's going to give the legislature a little time and the governor time with less pressure to make a positive step right now.
Meraki has also scheduled a State Board of Education meeting for tomorrow to try and hash out a resolution to the conflict. As teachers held a candlelight vigil outside of the Capitol tonight, Governor Caperton made an address stating he wants to put the public back into public education by taking the strike issue to the streets.
Those of us in positions of responsibility will go out to our communities, large and small, and talk to parents, teachers, employers, labor leaders, students, and people from all walks of life about what they want and need from education. We will talk to them individually, in groups, in workplaces, and in their homes. And we will seek their vision of our educational future.
Governor Caperton says the results we presented to an education summit in May. Teachers say it's a good idea for Caperton to get community input.
Our public knows what's going on. The teachers and the public have always been together. I think it's the governor that has not been out in the public eye. We're happy that he's going out to talk to the public. I think it'll be a real eye-opening experience to him.
So for now, schools will be closed the next 2 days, and it's back to the drawing board for teachers and state government. Tom?
Lisa, now that the teachers have rejected the governor's proposal, we're hearing that they've been working on their own proposal. What do you know about that tonight?
Well, earlier tonight they were talking about formulating a counter-proposal. So far, new details have been released about that plan, but Tom, by tomorrow we could hear more about what they have in store.
All right, we'll be on the story then. Thanks a lot. Lisa Calagrassi reporting tonight.
So coal is one of the sources of energy that is used to generate electricity.
It looked like a normal classroom scene at Frame Elementary School, but the teacher was school board member Fred Radabaugh, one of many emergency substitutes forced by a teacher walkout and demonstration at the Capitol. The walkout had a very direct impact here at Frame Elementary School, where only one teacher showed up for work today. On a normal day, about 230 of Kanawha County's 2,400 teachers need substitutes. 730 had to be replaced today.
We're covering the classes the best that we can. All the kids are being supervised, and classes are trying to be covered just like normal.
Some parents pulled students from class unhappy with substitutes who range from educators with advanced degrees to building custodians and parents.
I'm just as qualified as the person that was in here trying to teach my daughter's fourth grade class.
22% of the county's 35,000 students skipped school or were pulled out by parents. Normally 6% would be out in Kanawha County.
Well, it's been a different day, but we're managing.
School officials say teachers who took the day off to protest in Kanawha County will lose a day's pay. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Frame. The atmosphere was friendly on the Logan County picket line, but the strike was serious business for teachers.
United we stand and divided we fall. And but basically we're like 49th in the nation right now in pay scale and soon to be 50th. And if we don't to do something, you know, it's like digging a ditch. Sometimes you don't want to do it, but I think really you have to do it, Bob.
Pickett stressed this was a teacher's strike. Many of them did not belong to a union, but walked anyway.
Even though the WVEA supposedly began the strike, I feel that as a teacher, I have a say-so, and it's time to stand up.
421 of the county's 620 teachers did not show for work.
I'm here for the beginning teacher. We've got teachers at our school that can't afford to make a car payment.
School officials said they had an obligation to keep the schools open.
You know, I think there's three options available. We can discharge, we can reprimand in some manner, or we can choose to do nothing. And, you know, like I said, it's a little early to discuss that, so that decision will be made later.
The illegal job action took more than 70% of the county's students out of class as the state's first major teacher strike got underway. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Logan County, West Virginia. Buses ground to a halt at the Elkview Garage as the teachers' strike hit Kanawha County. Pickets were up at other bus garages as teachers' demands for a pay hike went to the streets.
I'd rather be at school than anywhere in the world, but I think that teachers need to take a stand now. I think it's time for us to say we do something that's important.
Initially, the teachers' sit-down tactics turned back the buses at Elkview. State law limits police action in a labor dispute.
But I feel that as well as the other drivers behind me, we have a job that we've been hired to do and would like to do that job.
The buses rumbled back for another confrontation. This time, authorities arrested the teachers on a misdemeanor charge of disrupting a government process. It carries a $100 fine and up to a 6-month jail term.
I hope the rest of you teachers in this county are looking, and I hope the rest of you county teachers and state teachers see this. This is the way you're going to be treated in your classroom someday, right here. Better education for your kids, everybody. Everybody's got better education.
The governor says he won't deal with the teachers until they return to the classroom. Striking teachers want pay guarantees before they return. Students are caught in the middle as the dispute spread to more than half the state's counties. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Elkview.
This is where your education is going, right here. I hope the rest of you teachers in this county are looking, and I hope the rest of you county teachers and state teachers see this. This is the way you're going to be treated in your classroom someday, right here. Better education for your kids, everybody. Everybody's got better education.
7 pickets who allegedly blocked a school bus garage in Elkview were arrested.
We're ready, we're prepared, we're here for the duration. We just like these people to understand that they get the same benefits we do, and we don't want these buses moved.
The news of the arrest and other picket line incidents were enough to send school officials who run the state's biggest system to court for an injunction.
This is public property we're talking about. It all belongs to all of us in some sense, and all of us need to have access and egress from that property. We think that with such a action by the board that we'll be in a better position to safely meet the needs of our kids and provide a safe working environment for our employees who have come to work.
The pickets were arrested on a misdemeanor charge of disrupting a governmental process and later freed on bond. State law blocks police from enforcing trespassing laws in a labor dispute. The Attorney General's office has ruled the strike is illegal and that any teacher who walks off the job can be fired. But teachers seem determined to press their campaign for a pay increase with the strike. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Elkview. When teachers walked out in Putnam County today, enough of them went out to close down the school system.
We'll be here till the fall if necessary.
More teachers went on strike for higher pay in 8 counties. The West Virginia Education Association claims 80% of the Mountain State's teachers are off the job. Teacher union officials warn the strike is still expanding.
There are more teachers out on strike today than there were yesterday, and I can guarantee you there will be more teachers out on Monday than there are now if some agreement cannot be reached over the weekend.
But the governor says he won't talk with striking teachers until they go back to work. In Cross Lanes, one parent walked the picket line with teachers. Many others crossed it.
I think they deserve a raise, but it's hard for me to decide whether or not they should be on strike. I kind of feel like there must be another way.
Nearly 1,200 teachers were off the job Friday in Kanawha County. Less than 14,000 of the county's 35,000 students were in class. But school officials say they'll try to operate Kanawha County on a normal class schedule Monday. It's doubtful it'll be a typical school day. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Cross Lanes. Out on the street, the state's first teachers' walkout showed few signs of waning. Some educators in 46 counties were off the job. Striking teachers said they wanted to know what their strike had gained before they went back to work.
We're real positive. We think the governor has recognized and some others have recognized at state level that they've awakened a sleeping giant. I think we're hopeful, but we're going to be here, and this time we're going to be here until we have something in writing, something we can approve.
Putnam County school administrators are headed to court Thursday to seek a court order limiting pickets. Monday, Raleigh County officials indicated they might seek a court order to force teachers back to class. Greenbrier County threatened firings for Wednesday. That option is also open to other counties.
But if we're fired today, we'll be working tomorrow because other states, Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia, Maryland, all the states come in here and recruit teachers.
In Kanawha County, 40 more teachers went back to work, but more than 1,000 were off the job. The strike still had enough muscle to close some schools in about half the Mountain States counties today. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston. West Virginia students may be filling some empty seats in Virginia classrooms. The impact of the West Virginia teachers' strike is creeping across the Virginia border. Some frustrated parents are trying to get strike-bound West Virginia students into school in Virginia border counties. It's far from a mad rush to the border, but Giles County schools say they've gotten 6 formal applications and more inquiries. School administrators here in Giles County, Virginia have agreed to accept the West Virginia students if they pay tuition. Officials in 2 Virginia counties have talked to parents from Mercer and Monroe counties about getting their children back in class.
I've talked with several people and have communications on both ways. We'd like to have them come for a while we're under strike, and I've had one inquiry that says we just want to have our child be able to finish the school year in a productive manner.
It'll cost students $100 a month to finish out the year in Giles County. They won't be allowed to back out until the end of the school year, even if the West Virginia dispute is resolved. Virginia school officials report West Virginia parents say they are worried if striking teachers are fired, they'll be replaced with less qualified instructors. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Narrows, Virginia.
This is sulfuric acid. How much sulfuric acid does this represent?
Teachers went back to class and students back to school as the Mountain States started to return to normal after West Virginia's first teachers' strike.
I hope it'll be just like coming back after a Christmas break. The kids are in class. They were very anxious to be there today and have normal instruction. Our teachers that have returned have expressed an excellent attitude, and I'm sure that we'll get back to normal as quickly as can be possible.
But there are some hard feelings about teachers who crossed the picket line in a county where teachers were arrested for strike activities. But teachers who were on strike, like Connie Phelps, are now working side by side with the people who didn't honor their lines.
Yes, I worry about the unity among the staff, but I think we can work it out. I'm glad we did this, but I'm glad we're back.
No. All this is a diagram, and it shows you the principles of the machine.
Saturday, leaders of the state's 2 teachers' unions agreed to send their members back to work after an agreement was worked out with the state's legislative leadership. The legislative leaders agreed to ask the governor for a special education session and to address the long-term needs of education. In the short term, the strikers will lose several days' pay for a job action that affected more than 250,000 students. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston.
In this molecule, ooh, this is tough. How many total atoms? The total number of atoms.
Connie Phelps and 15,000 others striking West Virginia teachers went back to work this day. Saturday, leaders of the state's 2 teachers' unions agreed to send their members back to work after an agreement was worked out with the state's legislative leadership.
Well, the ultimate agreement was that there was a commitment not only from the governor, but from the legislative leadership to sit down with the teacher organizations, develop a plan to present to a special session of the legislature.
There were still some signs of the strike as the 11-day walkout ended, and some hard feelings about teachers who had crossed union picket lines.
Yes, I worry about the unity among the staff, but I think we can work it out. I'm glad we did this, but I'm glad we're back.
There will be some bitterness and some animosity. Quite frankly, we've been telling our folks it's time to let the healing process to begin.
State education officials said school was back to normal in all 55 counties.
We have all of our teachers back today, and looks like about 90% of our kids are here, and that's a normal situation for us.
More than 250,000 children were affected by the walkout. In the long run, teachers hope their apparently illegal strike will produce gains for them and education. In the short run, they'll lose several days' pay and have to live with the tensions produced by West Virginia's first statewide teachers' strike. Bob Aaron, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston.
On what? A more difficult question. David, give me an example of a chemical change.
I think negotiations are over.
Less than 24 hours after he proposed a pay raise to teachers, Governor Caperton pulled the plan from the table, saying he's done talking.
I'm just disappointed. We didn't promise that we could pass it. We promised that we'd make a total effort, but we really needed their enthusiastic support to get it, and I'm disappointed we didn't.
Legislative leaders worked behind closed doors at the mansion for hours last night before offering a 5% pay raise. Early this morning, the West Virginia Education Association agreed to the proposal, with some reservations.
We feel that we have made progress. We're not totally happy with it.
Why not?
We would have preferred to have heard more money.
But Caperton says a lukewarm reception from WVEA leadership wasn't part of the deal.
We're very clear that it took two things. One, no threat of strike, and two, the enthusiastic endorsement of this plan, and we didn't feel we got it either.
And because the WVEA continued to talk strike, lawmakers tore up the agreement.
Members of the House of Delegates cannot allow the policies of this state to be dictated by intimidation from any group. That kind of a precedent would be far too damaging to the future of West Virginia.
The continual statement that we are going to defer action on a strike has undermined our ability upstairs to get the House and the Senate to consider a revenue package.
And if some sort of agreement isn't reached soon, lawmakers could have a bigger problem on their hands. The first teacher strike in state history, as teachers in at least 6 counties are set to walk off the job tomorrow. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, the Capital. For the past few weeks, teachers have been doing their rallying for higher pay at the Capitol. Starting in the morning, the chance of protests will be coming from the picket lines.
And certainly when you're 49th in the nation and probably slipping even as we speak, that's something that teachers have to concern themselves with.
The West Virginia Education Association called for the state's first teacher strike after Governor Caperton and legislative leaders yanked off the negotiating table a pay raise package that would have raised teachers' salaries 5%.
We were very clear that it took two things. One, no threat of strike, and two, the enthusiastic endorsement of this plan, and we didn't feel we got it either. We didn't feel that we got either one of those as we needed.
WVEA officials say Caperton calling off the deal gave them no choice but to call for a strike.
Our members have become so enraged, so frustrated from years after years of neglect that they see no other option available to them.
And now with the first teacher walkout in the state's history hanging over their heads, Caperton and legislative leaders are urging teachers to stay on the job.
It's bad for the whole image of the state. It's just no one is a winner with the strike.
We implore educators all across West Virginia to stay in their schools so that we can restore an atmosphere of public support for public education in West Virginia.
And the governor says the state is prepared should the teachers walk off the job. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, Charleston. Lawmakers tried to make it just another day at the office working on bills and caucusing, but it was the first teacher strike in state history that took center stage.
No one can feel comfortable about what's happening in this state. No one can feel comfortable about teachers walking out of the classrooms and making children of West Virginia the victims of the decisions of the leadership of the WVEA. No one can feel comfortable with being in the position that either the teachers or legislators are in, but frankly, we didn't feel that we had any choice.
The teacher walkout has also put legislative rank and file in a frustrating position, especially Kanawha County Delegate Peggy Miller, who's also a teacher.
I am drawn both ways. Teachers are underpaid in this state, but being here in the legislature, I know there is no money. So, you know, it's kind of sad.
Now, not all teachers decided to walk the picket line. These from Raleigh County instead chose to come here to the Capitol to tell lawmakers this strike is for real.
There is not enough money to keep teachers in this state. There is not enough money to give our children the kind of education they need, and that can be addressed right here at the Big House.
I've been in education for 18 years, and I feel like we are
discussing the same subjects we were discussing 18 years ago.
We're telling the legislature the strike is for real. We're telling them that we're tired, you know, for 8 years of promising salary raises after salary raises and receiving no benefits.
Some sort of solidarity.
You're gonna have to talk to
why do you continue to show a division by holding separate?
5% offer include a no strike clause?
We think that a similar type offer should be forthcoming, and we believe that it should receive serious consideration from the teachers of both organizations. But in view of the circumstances, it was a reasonable offer. And patient folks, but the patience has run out. And I think there has to be a recognition of this by state and or sister against sister, and which will
earlier suggestion that there be an education summit in May. Would you still like to see that?
We addressed to resolve the problems so that our children in this state have quality.
We've lost upwards of $800 to $1,000.
WVEA and the legislative leaders have agreed, beginning immediately, the House and Senate leadership, the education community, and the administration will develop a plan for meeting both the immediate and the long-term needs of schools. We believe the plan will be completed prior to the beginning of the school year. The legislative leadership will then recommend to the governor and to the members of the House and Senate that a special session be called to adopt the plan. WVEA is recommending that teachers return to the classroom on Monday and commends the legislature, in particular Chuck Chambers, Speaker of the House, Keith Burdett, President of the Senate, for providing the leadership at this critical point in our state's history.
I'd just like to say we walked out with dignity and in unity, and when we go back in, we're going back in with dignity and in unity.
A crowd estimated at more than 5,000 strong chanted slogans and waved anti-K-Burton banners in an effort to get a pay raise. Teachers from more than half West Virginia's 55 counties staged this walkout after months of demands went unanswered.
This issue is too critical. Those of us left in West Virginia cannot stand in front of our students and ask them to value education and not fight for what we are.
1972, you were promised a raise. The state didn't have the money to give you a raise, so they gave you an insurance program. They're trying to take it away.
The The state's 22,000 teachers earn an average of $21,000 a year, ranking them 48th nationally. The teachers are still insisting that there's money for the raises, that funds can be taken from one account and transferred to another. Governor Burton says he's willing to listen, but the chances don't look good. And later, as he tried to address them, the crowd turned angry.
Education is the one place... shut up a minute. Education is the one place...
We're gonna have to leave.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where's the lottery?
And on the inside, another confrontation.
I put more money into education.
We're not greedy people. It's obvious. We are not greedy people.
Well, you're not listening to anything I said.
Okay, sir. Go ahead and speak.
I'm fighting as hard as anybody has ever in this job ever fought for education. I'll continue that fight.
Not a good day for the governor, but the teachers, however, are vowing to fight on, even if it means more rallies. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, the Capitol.
I care deeply about education.
It was not a good week for Governor Burton as thousands of angry teachers demanding pay raises confronted him.
Education is the one place... shut up a minute. Education is the one place that we have put our money. It's not an easy deal.
I won't be here much longer.
We're gonna have to leave.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where's the lottery? That's just lip service.
Like this all the time. My son wants to go to college. We'll be back.
The teachers, who are ranked 48th in pay nationally, claim the governor is not doing enough.
A state cannot survive without education. That is the basis for a state. That is a basis for economy. Education. You can't get business without education. You can't get anything without education.
Do you think every speech I give doesn't say that?
It might say it, but it doesn't show it.
Sure it does.
We need help. We need money.
These people in here did not walk out on our students today because that's how much we care about you, about our students, our own children.
And I understand your frustration, and I understand that I'm the guy that you can put that frustration on. But I'm fighting as hard as anybody has ever in this job ever fought for education. I'll continue that fight.
But the angry teachers would hear none of it as they left disgusted and promised to return. Some are even talking strike. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston.
There is a proposal.
300 Marion County teachers demonstrated for higher pay one day before a massive rally is scheduled by teachers from across the state. The Marion teachers are hoping to get a jump on their colleagues.
I am tired of having to come down here and ask for things. I want to stay in the classroom with my students where I belong.
Meanwhile, the president of the state's largest teachers union says at least 5,000 teachers from 40 counties will protest on Friday, the second such rally in the last 2 weeks.
We have been frustrated, we have been angry all through this session. We shouldn't have to come down here like beggars with tin cups every year fighting for funding for education.
The teachers are frustrated over failed attempts to muscle pay raises from lawmakers.
This business of asking us to wait year after year while education is rated to balance the budget has got to stop.
Meanwhile, Governor Burton, who said a raise looks doubtful, issued this warning to the protesters.
Legislators are always, and a governor is always happy to let people express how they feel about things, but nobody, I think, responds much to pressure. And if people feel they can pressure you to make these things happen, that's not the thing.
The teachers, however, have stopped short of calling for a strike, although they're putting out the word that if they don't get their money, anything's possible. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, the Capitol.
We're back! We're back! We're back!
At least 5,000 teachers played hooky and braved the rain to demand pay raises and improved benefits. The teachers, who claim to be among the lowest paid in the nation, say they won't be ignored any longer.
Our schools have had to drop course offerings. Some counties can't find teachers to fill vacancies must be addressed now.
The average teacher here is paid $21,000, which includes a 5% raise this year. Governor Caperton, who was out of town, told the teachers 2 weeks ago another raise is out of the question.
We need help. We need money.
I put more money into education.
We're not greedy people. It's obvious.
I'm fighting as hard as anybody has ever in this job ever fought for education. I'll continue that fight.
This is the second rally here in as many weeks, and the teachers say they've grown increasingly frustrated over the legislature's failure to address their concerns.
The noisy crowd moved inside to lobby lawmakers, but they were met by increased police forces guarding the House and Senate.
We're back! We're back! We're back!
At least 5,000 teachers played hooky and braved the rain to demand pay raises and improved benefits. The teachers, who claim to be among the lowest paid in the nation, say they won't be ignored any longer.
Our schools have had to drop course offerings. Some counties can't find teachers to fill vacancies, and these issues cannot be left to languish one more year. They must be addressed now.
The average teacher here is paid $21,000, which includes a 5% raise this year. Governor Caperton, who was out of town, told the teachers 2 weeks ago another raise is out of the question.
We need help. We need money.
I put more money into education.
We're not greedy people. It's obvious.
I'm fighting as hard as anybody has ever in this job ever fought for education. I'll continue that fight.
This is the second rally here in as many weeks, and the teachers say they've grown increasingly frustrated over the legislature's failure to address their concerns.
The noisy crowd moved inside to lobby lawmakers, but they were met by increased police forces guarding the House and Senate. No reports of trouble, unlike the last rally when angry teachers pounded on the doors of the House.
We will not wait one more year. We won't wait! We won't wait!
And with only a week left in the legislative session, many are talking strike. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, the Capitol.
Come forward and tell us what they're going to do.
The West Virginia Federation of Teachers says at least 3,000 of its members could hit the picket lines on Thursday unless the governor and lawmakers meet their demands.
We directed our folks to go home Saturday and touch base with their building representatives to check the pulse of teachers out in the counties. And they're telling us there's going to be a statewide teacher strike. It's time, and we're going to support that strike.
The teachers, who have staged a series of mass protests over the last month, are seeking a pay raise and improved retirement benefits. Governor Caperton, who has repeatedly said there's no money for a raise, spent several hours meeting with leaders from 2 teachers' unions. When they emerged, the teachers were tight-lipped.
If I knew what was going to happen, then we probably wouldn't be meeting. I don't know what's going to happen. We're still having this open dialogue with the governor and the legislative leadership.
And the governor, meanwhile, looking weary from the day's events, admitted not much has changed.
What we've had is very constructive talks, listening to what people have to say. The leadership within the legislature has been with me in those talks, and those talks are continuing.
Any deals?
No deals.
And so it's now come down to the 11th hour. With less than a week left in the legislative session and some of the teachers ready to strike, the rest of the teachers will likely reach a decision in the next few days. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, the Capitol. Thousands of striking teachers in southern West Virginia hit the picket lines as the state's first ever teacher strike got underway. Most of the teachers directed their anger at Governor Gaston Caperton.
We feel something happened yesterday to change his mind. We don't know what it is, but we're very upset about it, and we want to stay out until we get what we want. I'm not going back with my tail tucked.
Fair treatment from the governor. It's pathetic how he can undermine us the way he's been.
Teachers want a raise! Teachers want a raise!
Here in Boone County, classes were canceled after 300 of the county's 430 teachers stayed out. Only 15 reported to work. Many students also stayed home. Near empty buses pulled up, but turned right around again. Teachers here already got one raise, 5% in January, but they say that's not enough. And they're angry because they say their $21,000 salary is nearly the lowest in the nation.
I've got a wife and 2 kids and bills to pay, and I can't afford to strike, but I can't afford not to strike. I have no choice.
I don't really like to be doing this. I'd rather be up in my classroom. But we have no other choice. I have a son of my own in school, and he is home, and he will stay home.
More money, less slip. More money.
The strike is expected to spread to at least 12 more counties, as teachers in those areas are set to vote on whether to join the walkout. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, Boone County.
Was that our county pony? Yeah. That was the pony. You won't call the wagon until we're under arrest. But you have to place us under arrest first. Buses are already late. They'll never get the kids to school.
Tempers flared when police and striking teachers knocked heads.
If I call a wreck, I'm not going to let you move the car. I'm going to tow the car away if I call a wreck.
The teachers were blocking buses from leaving the county's largest garage.
You'll let them roll?
We'll do whatever you ask us to do.
Open it up. Let's move out of the way then. Clear it out.
But as the teachers dispersed, some of them brought in cars.
I'm an American citizen. I understand all that. They're not going to damage my vehicle. Let's just breathe deep.
This man refused to move. Police called in tow trucks. As soon as one car was towed, another moved in.
We hope that these Kanawha County schools, that they'll receive the message that we're determined to stay out until teachers are treated right.
Meanwhile, 2 pickets were struck by cars, this one at the school system's warehouse in Creed.
I had made up my mind I wasn't going to move. And I said, whoa, time to move. And as I was moving, I got clipped on the side and knocked into the grass. I didn't get hurt or anything.
And another teacher struck in Sissonville.
First I heard a thump, and next thing I stopped.
The strike is taking its toll.
I do believe in the teachers. I think they need more money, and I think Governor Caperton should have listened to them in the first place.
Others weren't as supportive.
I'm tired of hearing the teachers complain every year.
The buses dropped off students but did not cross the picket lines. Inside, nearly empty classrooms. The problems are expected to continue. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, Kanawha County.
Who's what? Ruby's.
What's your name,
Mrs. Lane.
L-A-N-E.
L-A-Y-N-E.
What's your first? Emotions are beginning to overcome some of the strikers as the state's first teacher strike ends its 3rd day. Little trouble was reported, although teachers say one striker was attacked.
He sucker punched the same teacher. We restrained the teacher because we felt that he was just trying to make us look bad. So we stopped the fight.
Here in Kanawha County, less than half of 2,000 teachers reported. Again, it was nearly empty classrooms. Here at Marmet Elementary, only 60 of 280 students reported, and only 1 out of 25 teachers decided to cross the picket line.
We tell our children, don't give in to peer pressure, don't do drugs, don't do this, don't do that. As parents, we tell them that. As teachers, we tell them that. And I have to stand for what I believe.
We've been very patient. We've done everything that professionals are supposed to do, and I think
outside, her colleagues were holding their ground.
We are upset about our insurance being underfunded. We have teachers who can no longer go to doctors they've gone to for years because the doctors will no longer take them.
The kids are going to have to live without me for several days till we can get things better for all of us and them.
At the Capitol, hundreds of teachers rallied once again. But it looks like it may be several more days before a breakthrough is reached. Alan Cohen, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston.
I can just tell you that I care deeply about education. I've worked very hard for education. We've got a very tough budget, Education is the one place, shut up a minute. Education is the one place that we have put our money. We'll continue to fight for education because it is the future of our state. We need you to help work with us. It's not an easy deal.
We're not going to be here much longer.
We're going to have to leave.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where's the lottery? That's just a little
This all the time. My son wants to go to college. We'll be back.
We want more. 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 We want more.
We've done this over and over. Year after year, we come in and we say, we need help. You know, it's getting to the point where you're losing everybody. You're losing it.
Where are you from?
A state, Mingo County. A state cannot survive without education. That is the basis for a state. That is a basis for economy. Education. You can't get business without education. You can't get anything without education.
Do you think every speech I give doesn't say that?
It might say it, but it doesn't show it.
Sure it does.
We need help. We need money.
I put more money into education.
We're not greedy people. It's obvious. We are not greedy people.
Well, you're not listening to anything I said.
Okay, sir. Go ahead and speak.
Governor, excuse me. Where did the money go to that you put into education?
I can tell you exactly where it went.
Okay.
$100 million went into the teachers' retirement program. $60 million was an increase in the PEIA, and about 6 months of it is about $25 million, and the other $25 million is for a whole year for your 5% increase that was effective as of January 1. That's where all the money went.
I did not get my pay raise as of January 1st.
Yeah, but that money will get to you. It depends upon where the pay period is in your county. That money is allocated, and you'll get that money.
See, I was very upset with that.
And you'll get in Lincoln County, because of equity in Lincoln County, you'll get much more than a 5% rate increase.
How about Mr. Chafin's proposal, Senator Chafin's proposal of taking a...
They come and rake their coal, they've taken all these things. There's no way that we're going to get industry to move their families to West Virginia. And it's a ripple effect. As education deteriorates, industry's not going to bring in their families because of the education, no matter how many tax breaks.
I agree with you. Education is the most important thing this state can do.
How are we going to make our legislators, because you can only do so much, how are we supposed to make our legislators take a stand and make some other sacrifices someplace else to get us on track?
One of the things you've got to realize, I've cut over $100 million in expenses. And we've put the part of our budget that has increased the most, the only place that's really increasing, is in education. Now, we're not where you want to be. We're certainly not where we want to be. But we're making a real effort.
I appreciate the fact that these people in here, did not walk out on our students today, because that's how much we care about you, about our students, our own children. We did not walk out of our classrooms.
But it's just like you said, Nicole.
And I understand your frustration, and I understand that I'm the guy that you can put that frustration on. But I'm fighting as hard as anybody has ever in this job ever fought for education. I'll continue that fight.
Teaching jobs across the state, we're losing 30-some teaching jobs.
The reason we're losing teaching jobs, one of the real problems that we have in our education system in West Virginia is we've had a decrease in the number of students, and that's a big problem.
But we're talking about a 16-to-1 teacher-pupil ratio, and you all are including principals, assistant principals, and everybody else in this formula. They don't teach. They're administrators. We are teachers, so obviously it's not going to be a 16-to-1 ratio.
Well, if you look at teachers to teachers, that's when you have a declining population, student population, that's what makes it difficult.
And I realize
the only reason for that is that if you have more kids in the classroom, you've got more money to pay. Growing and expanding, and that means there's less jobs for people. So we feel that this workers' compensation reform is extremely important. We feel getting us out of the retail liquor business. It was predicted 2 weeks ago that when that vote, feel like that the momentum is moving in the right direction, and that we're going to have a very successful legislature. Getting the state out of the retail liquor business is very important. Our groundwater legislation is very important. Our taking our 3 hospitals and turning them over to the private sector, 2 of them the private sector, is very important. It's getting a really honest budget. We have some important legislation as it relates to economic development and the creation of jobs. One, a technology bill that will set up a private corporation to work on technology to get the state working, the private sector working with the university, so that R&D is not just an academic exercise, but really turns things into to jobs. So those are the major emphasis that we're going to have.
There's money for a pay raise. What additional message, if any?
Well, as you know, we've been very consistent in saying that we would like to be able to put some equity money with the teachers. We certainly are not going to be able to do that if we can't, if we're not able to follow our budget, and that includes getting $20 million for getting the state out of the retail liquor business and being able to consolidate our hospitals. That has to be done. If those 2 measures are not done, I don't see that there's going to be equity money, because then we all of a sudden are going to have about a $24 million hole that we're going to have to fill up. But I've been meeting almost on a daily basis with the leadership, particularly the education leadership in both the House and the Senate, looking for ways that we can find money for education. The thing that people must keep in mind is that this governor and this legislature are very much in tune with and are committed to education, to the improvement of education. I don't think I give a speech which I don't talk about the importance of education. We've clearly spoken up by putting about $200 million more in the budget we're currently in than was in the prior budget. So, you know, we have put our money where our mouth is. What we have had to do is to continue on a balanced budget, and we don't have the money that we would like to have for teachers' salaries, but it's certainly a high priority of this administration.
How would you react if 5,000 more teachers came out here again? What would you think of that if that happened again?
Well, I mean, I think that's something I've gotten a little bit used to, so I think that's certainly up to them. I think that in all seriousness, I think that what they have to consider is, are they really helping their cause? You know, as the governor and as the members of the leadership of the legislature, we become deeply concerned that that kind of demonstration can have a negative effect. We have to have a really consolidated group of people voting for these bills on education. And some people certainly respond very negatively to those kind of pressure tactics. And so I think that the leadership of the teachers, the WVEA and the AFT have to be sure that what they're doing is going to help their cause and not hurt their cause. 5,000 teachers does not always represent the feelings of all the teachers. And certainly the ones that the news people pick up are the ones that bring the best stories, and are usually the ones that are the most radical. And you know, I've gotten hundreds of letters and phone calls from teachers saying, you know, the way people treated you is certainly not a reflection of how we feel about what you've done for education, or your commitment to education. So I think that whether they're, what the leadership within the teachers' organizations think, I think they better be sure that they're focusing on what is going to bring the results. And I think we're all trying to get to the same result.
Would you urge them not to walk out again like they did last time?
I don't believe that that will help, and I certainly don't think that beating on the doors of the Senate and the House and really frightening some members was of any value. And I think it was an embarrassment to the huge majority of teachers who certainly don't think that that was the way professionals act.
Governor, one of the most common suggestions made by the teachers and some of the lawmakers is that money could be found for a pay raise by increasing the
I'm glad he didn't come in here for an interview because he would have been mobbed, I tell you that. I know, his interview, I mean, he does not.
Teachers in the county are frustrated and upset because the legislature has not acted on the salary proposals that are before them, and they want to register their displeasure by going to the Capitol on Friday.
I will not even start to name the things that I cannot do as a teacher. With my training, if I were to leave the state of West Virginia, I would be able to practically double my.
I think that you all were
But they also know what happens when they go home, when they leave the classroom. They have bills to pay. They have families.
Teachers in the county are frustrated and upset because the legislature has not acted on the salary proposals that are before them, and they want to register their displeasure.
And because they are displeased with the low wages, Kanawha County Education Association members plan a second rally at the Capitol.
The legislature and the senators and the House members all need to know that the teachers are upset and that they're frustrated and that they need what they're asking for.
And what they're asking for is a fatter paycheck. Teachers in West Virginia earn an average of $21,000 a year, ranking them 48th in the nation. And a few weeks ago, more than 5,000 teachers showed up in Charleston to protest low pay. It resulted in words between teachers and the governor.
Education. You can't get business without education. You can't get anything without education.
Do you think every speech I give doesn't say that?
It might say it, but it doesn't show it.
It sure does.
We need help. We need money.
I think it helped. Some of the members of the House and Senate may have felt intimidated by the teachers being there, but the teachers have a right to be there and voice their opinions also.
And so the County Education Association members plan to walk off the job on Friday, and they're asking all other teachers in the county to play hooky too.
We would like to see the community and the administration and everyone join in with us, because once education is number one within our state, then they too are going to benefit from it.
But you're still going to leave your students in the classroom on Friday without any teacher there.
We requested everyone join with us at the Capitol on Friday.
Teachers from 14 other counties are also planning to attend the rally. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, Charleston. Kanawha County School Board members say they sympathize with teachers over their low pay, but walking off the job is not the answer.
No doubt they do need the increase in salary, but I certainly hope that schools continue to operate.
I don't support the walkout. I do sympathize with the teachers and their frustrations, but I don't feel that I can support it as a board member.
Kanawha County teachers are being asked to miss school on Friday and rally with teachers from 14 other counties and push for a pay raise from the legislature. When thousands of teachers from across the state rallied the Capitol 2 weeks ago, Kanawha County teachers didn't take part. They stayed in the classroom. And so that's why they say it's very important to show their strength and support on Friday.
I probably would be more sympathetic if I felt the state had the money to pay. I really don't believe it's there. I'd like to see parents storming on the Capitol asking that property reappraisal be enacted so that revenues would be there to increase teacher salaries. But we have a pretty apathetic public when it comes to education.
County officials say there are no plans to close schools the day of the walkout.
Friday is an instructional day, and we're planning to go ahead with school on Friday.
No plans to call off school like other counties have?
Not at this time.
And teachers planning to walk had little to say about the county's decision. Do you want them to change that idea?
That's what Mr. Lyons told you. I'm not a part of the administration.
So what's your reaction to that? What do you feel?
I'm not going to give you a reaction to that.
Teachers plan to meet with the superintendent in the afternoon, but won't comment as to what they'll talk to him about. Steve Levine, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston. For nearly 3 hours, representatives from the West Virginia Education Association met behind closed doors to discuss a strike if their demands were not met by the legislature. Teachers want higher salaries, better insurance benefits, and a fully funded retirement system. At the meeting, the WVEA was set to vote on walking off the job, but that was put on hold after a surprise call came from the governor.
We received a call from the governor's office inviting Kayetta and other representatives from WVEA to meet with him and with the legislative leadership to discuss options. So we're having continuing dialogue.
And at the Capitol, Caperton and legislative leaders were meeting at the governor's mansion, discussing options they had for raising money for teacher salaries. Before the meeting, Caperton was optimistic an agreement could be reached.
What I'm doing is working with the legislature and the teachers to see what we can do to come up with a good solution, and I think that's what everybody's trying to work towards, and kids are the most important thing.
Do you think you and the legislature can work something out at this late date to give the teachers a pay raise to prevent this strike from happening?
Well, this has nothing to do with any threat to strike. What we're trying to do is to build a great education system for West Virginia. It's a key to the future of our state, it's a key to jobs, it's a key to everything, and that's what we're interested in.
Earlier in the day, the West Virginia Federation of Teachers called for a statewide strike on Thursday if lawmakers didn't come up with a pay raise.
We feel that we have made progress. We're not totally happy with it.
And even though it's not everything it wanted, the West Virginia Education Association early this morning accepted the governor's pay proposal, which raises salaries and pays for health insurance.
There is constructive dialogue taking place, and because of that, we are at this time delaying any further job action.
Teachers across the state threatened to walk off the job if more money for salaries was not given to them. And in order to prevent the state's first teacher strike, the governor and legislative leaders huddled behind closed doors at the mansion until nearly midnight before coming up with an offer.
It must be understood that this proposal is our best and final effort, and it is continued upon there being no further work stoppages and classroom disruption.
The Caperton package calls for salary increases for public and higher education teachers and will pay for all of the teachers' health insurance.
We're not excited now. We weren't excited then. We feel that there has been constructive dialogue. There has been progress. Moving from zero to having something on the table and being assured that there will be no takebacks from PEIA is a win.
The program will be funded in part through the closure of a $27 million super tax credit loophole and a change in the state school aid formula. The state's other teachers union, the West Virginia Federation of Teachers, is also reacting positively to the governor's proposal. Lawmakers now have until the end of the regular session, Saturday at midnight, to pass this financial package. And if they don't, teachers say the threat of a walkout still exists. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, Charleston. And with more than half of the state's 55 counties out on strike, hundreds of teachers swarmed the Capitol, demanding higher pay and better benefits.
We're all banding together now in unity, and I think we're unified and we mean business. We had tried every legal, lawful way of lobbying the legislature before we had to go out on strike. We've been down here at least 4 times.
And while the teachers were rallying on the Capitol steps, a message was sent to them from House Speaker Chuck Chambers.
He wants everyone to calm down. He wants us to calm down and come back later after the session. This is the good part, folks. He wants us to come back after the May primary.
Teachers are wearing red throughout the strike to symbolize apples, teachers, and education. And as striking teachers protested at the Capitol for more pay, they were joined in force by other union members, the United Mine Workers.
I've got kids just like most other people in West Virginia, and we need the teachers, they need the raise, and kids need the education. So we out here and support them and help them all we can.
And teachers say they'll continue their vigil at the Capitol until they get that pay raise. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, the Capitol.
don't want to
The West Virginia Education Association has sent a special invitation to Governor Caperton and legislative leadership.
We're ready to meet now, tonight, or any time, any day, to meet with the governor and/or legislative leaders so that we can work out an agreement to settle this strike.
But WVEA officials are tight-lipped on how possible negotiations will affect the teacher walkout.
That's something that our membership will have to decide at this point.
Are you going to do that this afternoon?
I'm not willing to back off of anything unless we can find that there's some room for discussions.
This is the third day teachers have been on strike. Wednesday night, the governor announced he wouldn't talk until teachers returned to work, a position he still firmly stands on.
I'm most anxious for them to go back, and I'll continue as soon as they go back to work. I mean, I've been real clear. How could I be more clear than I've been? I've said this 100 times. Then I'll begin to work as I've worked in the past, in a spirit of cooperation. I'm not going to work in this area of confrontation.
The WVEA also sent a word of warning to the governor, telling him more and more teachers are walking off the job as this strike continues. And if there isn't an agreement over the weekend, hundreds more will walk on Monday.
Obviously, when you call a strike, more people go out the second day than go out the first day.
No new talks are scheduled, but union officials say they have a plan they'd like to put on the table and are hoping they can sit down and discuss a solution with the governor and lawmakers as soon as possible. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, Charleston. Striking teachers who had overwhelmingly voted to return to the classroom are once again meeting behind closed doors to plan strike strategy.
I think it's all a bunch of bull. There was no proposal on the table, and the governor acts like he doesn't want a deal, so we're out there for the duration.
It's to the point of no return for the teachers in the state of West Virginia. It's to the point of no return.
The West Virginia Education Association Saturday voted to accept an offer calling for immediate negotiations, no loss of pay for strikers, and a special legislative session to work on the agreement. But moments after the final ballots were counted, the deal was off.
The governor once again changed the rules of the game by announcing on a television broadcast at 6 p.m. that a special session would not be called. It appears that we are now at impasse. The governor has given West Virginia school employees, who have made every effort to be reasonable, no choice but to continue the statewide strike.
We made no agreement, as is in the statement of the president of WVEA. This is a total lie and a very sad day for West Virginia that teachers would be given this kind of misrepresentation.
The governor's office says Caperton won't call for a special session under the threat of a strike, but would consider it after teachers return to the classroom. The governor also sent a strong ultimatum to striking teachers: return back to the classroom or else face being reprimanded, losing pay, or losing your job.
We knew that when we started.
You're not afraid of losing your job?
What do I have to lose? Low pay versus no pay?
Well, if that's what's got to be, it's got to be.
So you'd risk losing your job over this?
Yeah. I feel we're right. I feel we've been put off long enough.
The governor has asked county superintendents not to dock the pay of striking teachers who return to work on Monday, but he has requested that county officials severely discipline those who remain off the job. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, Charleston.
What did he say? I missed it.
I don't see anyone else in Charleston arguing for education right now. I don't see anyone else on the steps of this Capitol standing out here making sure that our governor understands that we need to have improvement in our schools. But I see our public school employees, and I want to thank you for that.
Till this week.
The governor and his invited guests, representatives from the state's two teachers union, began the roundtable discussion in hopes of coming to some sort of solution that'll end the 4-day walkout.
No commitments have been made, no conclusions have been reached, no promises have been made. The lines of communication are open, and the discussions will continue this evening.
And as the talking continued behind closed doors, striking teachers waited for the latest word.
I met with the governor last night. He assured me that talks would begin, and the fact of the legislature's out of session.
Right.
What can we need to sit down and bargain. We can't keep going without any talks going on.
The governor invited the teachers to talk in hopes they can clear up some of the miscommunication and harsh words that were flying over the weekend. The talks broke off for a time during the dinner hour so the two sides could meet separately. They resumed a short time later.
They're able to discuss this thing. We're in a better place. We've been in a better place in the last few hours than we've been in the last few days, okay? And with a little luck, we'll make some progress here.
The two sides called it quits for the night shortly before 11 and will resume in the morning. A scheduled education speech by the governor set for this evening may be postponed in order for him to put all his efforts into the talks. Steve Levine, WCHS TV News 8, Charleston.
We're still talking.
That's about all education leaders would say as they went back behind closed doors. The governor was also being tight-lipped.
We're not going to talk about that right now.
Give us any kind of a comment whatsoever?
No, we just got you all in here for photographs. Okay, y'all can leave now if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you all.
The two sides started talking at 7 this morning, and while both groups are optimistic, no one's saying just how close they are to a settlement.
I don't want to go into any detail on anything at this point because really nothing has been finalized. There have been a lot of discussions, a lot of talk, and we're moving along.
The governor and the union leadership met for 3.5 hours in the morning discussing the main issues that'll return teachers to the classroom after being off the job for 5 days. Throughout the meetings, the two sides have called off talks for a while so each group can meet separately to discuss what's been put on the table.
The teachers are occasionally conferring with other people that are within their organizations, and that's certainly their prerogative, and we have no problem with that.
The governor has also been conferring with legislative leaders throughout the talks. This is the second day of meetings between the two sides. Yesterday, the group met for nearly 7 hours.
Won't you all move on into the rest
After meeting behind closed doors for nearly 12 hours, teacher negotiators left the Capitol without saying a word. Minutes later, the governor announced a 7-point offer he had given the striking teachers.
I believe that I've offered all I can responsibly offer, and I believe I've offered all I can deliver. Tonight, I again urge the teacher representatives to call for an end to the strike, and I ask teachers to return to the classroom.
Caperton's 7-point proposal calls for him to work with teacher groups towards long-term comprehensive education improvements, including teacher pay and a May Education Summit. He'll also work with teachers starting next week towards the long-term education improvements and urge legislative action on appropriate education proposals. He'll take $3 million out of a computer program to help increase teacher salaries. Also, a promise to call for a special legislative session if there's enough money in the budget for a teacher increase. Caperton also is offering $20 million in equity funding and a promise to continue working towards equity funding to equalize teachers' pay and full funding of the PEIA and teachers' retirement system. After getting the governor's proposal, WVEA officials began going over it, and while they wouldn't comment on the contents, they did criticize the governor for the way he made it public.
At 20 minutes to 11, the governor presented us with his 7 points, said this is it. I think this is the thing to do. We should go forward together. Both organizations asked that we have some time to run this by at least our executive board before making any public announcement, but the governor felt that it was important for him to be on the 11 o'clock news, so he was there without us.
The WVEA says it's still open towards looking at the governor's proposal. Executive committee members will now look over the plan before giving the governor an answer. Steve Levine, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston.
The governor's offer last night at 11 o'clock was inappropriate and insulting. We will take it.
After hearing the stunning news, the West Virginia Education Association threw out the governor's offer. Thousands of striking teachers turned up at the Capitol for the latest.
We won't let him force us back without fair treatment. We won't let him continue to abuse the negotiation process by announcing a proposal that your leadership cannot, in good conscience, accept on your behalf.
And immediately after the offer was given the thumbs down by teachers, the governor's office voiced disappointment.
And the thing sort of slipped away from us twice before. It wasn't a total surprise, but it is dismaying. I don't want to mislead you. It is dismaying.
After 2 days of intensive negotiations to reach a settlement, this had been hoped to be a celebration for teachers to bring them back to the classroom. But instead, once again, teachers are sending a strong and angry message to the governor.
We're quite annoyed, everybody is. As a matter of fact, it kind of unified all the teachers together instead of trying to separate the teacher, kind of unified them completely.
He's not giving us anything we don't already have. We hope he'll offer something that we don't have yet.
The teacher strike has now entered its second week, with teachers in at least 46 counties off the job. Striking West Virginia teachers were very optimistic after hearing the agreement ironed out between union officials and lawmakers, which would bring them back to work.
The problems that we have talked about for so long are going to be addressed with some sort of satisfactory long-term plan that will keep us from having to come down here every year with our hands out begging.
I think it's time to go back to work. I'm ready.
You've made your point?
Yes, I think so.
The agreement worked out between the two sides calls for them to work together towards setting up a special session on education, but the agreement doesn't give teachers an immediate pay raise.
I'm more looking toward a long-range type educational plan where they're going to fund us for years to come.
So you're not concerned about not getting a pay raise immediately?
Well, I can live with that if they make some progress down the road.
West Virginia teachers walked off the job March 7th, demanding higher pay and better benefits. Throughout the 11-day strike, the state's two unions negotiated with Governor Caperton, but talks broke off after teachers rejected a proposal by Caperton to end the strike. Late Thursday, teachers began talking with legislative leaders on how to improve teacher pay and bring better education to West Virginia.
The legislature has said we will begin immediately developing this plan. We want to have this plan completed by the beginning of the school year, and then we're recommending to the governor and the legislature to come into special session.
But you still don't have the guarantee of a special session.
We have the absolute commitment from the leadership of the House and the Senate that they will call for that.
Teachers and lawmakers will meet next week to begin on a plan to improve teacher pay, benefits, and teaching conditions. Steve Levine, WCHS TV, News 8, Charleston.